Chương trình này được bảo trợ bởi
Family Joy, tổ ấm y tế của mọi gia đình, 714 898 0765.
Hi, welcome back to the OC Health and Education Show on Little Saigon TV. We're going to continue the conversation about the importance of May Better Speech and Hearing Month with Dr. Steffani from Chico State University and Dr. Dr.Nobriga from Loma Linda University. Thank you so much, ladies, for sharing about your great and important work in the community. I just wanted to, at this point, talk to the community and let them learn more about, who needs speech therapy and how do we know the early signs of someone who might have a voice problem or a swallowing difficulty or having speech and language delay? How do we separate that from a late talker versus a child who really requires a specialist to intervene? So to start with, Dr. Steffani, can you let us know, what are the early signs of a speech and language delay, and when can we start getting therapy for kids? Can we start at infant, or do they need to wait until they get to school age?
Thank you. So no, they don't need to wait until they get to school, right? Infants who are at risk for whatever reason, they may be in the hospital, can get speech therapy. But I think the question that most people want to know is, or have is, my child isn't talking yet, and they're 2. Is this a problem? Mm-hmm. That seems to be the question I get the most often for a young child. And my answer to that question is, there are 3 things that they really need to be able to do that we want to look at. One is, do they have good understanding or comprehension of what people are saying to them? Does that seem normal for their age? The second one is, have they figured out how to communicate with gestures? So they may not be using words yet, but are they controlling their environment by pointing or reaching or rejecting by pushing away? Are they letting people in their environment know that they want things, or that or they may show you something? So that is nonverbal communication. It's intentional though, right? They're doing it for a reason. That's a really important skill to develop. And then the third one is play. Are they playing like other kids their age? Are they pretending to use things? If you give them a plate and a spoon, and do they pretend to eat? Do they pretend to feed someone else? Do they pretend to feed their dolls? So those things are really important. And if those things are developing, then we can wait a little bit longer for that first word to come. Maybe they're just going to be a little bit late in talking. But if those things aren't developing, and they're not talking, and they're not making sounds, then definitely by 2, I would say it would be a good time to take a child in for an evaluation.
Okay, well, thank you so much, Dr. Steffani, for reminding us. Definitely, I work in the field, so I know, but I'm asking the questions for the audience. So, thưa quý vị, hôm nay Julie hỏi về cái câu về lúc nào mình biết mà con mình phải cần đi cái người âm ngữ trị liệu, đó là người speech pathologist. Dr. Susan Steffani nói đó là, tại Julie đặt câu hỏi là lúc nào là mình sớm mới được đi học. Thiệt ra em bé mà ở trong bệnh viện mà có về khó khăn cũng có được speech therapy, thì ăn uống không được, không biết bú hay không, thì không có dầm mặt nạ, mấy cái phần đó, mấy cái biểu hiện sớm thì speech pathologist giúp cho trẻ em cũng được. Mà Dr. Susan Steffani nói là có 3 cái kỹ năng mình phải nên chú ý lúc mà gần 2 tuổi. Trước nhất là em mình có hiểu mình không? Lúc mà mình nói chuyện mình sai em có hiểu mẹ không? Sau đó mình phải coi là em mình nó có sử dụng ngón tay hoặc cái về tay để cho đạo diễn, để cho nó muốn cái gì. Đó là cái non-verbal communication. Then the third one là nó có biết chơi không. Nhiều lúc thì em nó có chơi giống như cái tuổi của nó không. So nhiều lúc mấy em mà bị tự kỷ, mình thấy đó là mình nói đó, có thể nó không có chú ý, không có trả lời về tên của nó, mình sai nó không làm được. Lúc mà em muốn gì, có thể em có nhiều cái biểu hiện nặng về đánh hay la hay khóc, đó là mấy cái biểu hiện về tự kỷ. Thêm nữa, mấy em tự kỷ nó có chơi với mấy cái vật đồ chơi không có giống như bé khác, có thể nó cầm cái món đó nó lắc nhiều, cái đó mình mới thấy đó là khác biệt về tự kỷ. Thì thưa quý vị, Dr. Susan Steffani nói đó là chừng nào con mình không có phát chữ mà cũng không có phát về ngôn ngữ là mấy cái biểu hiện đây á, thì lúc đó mình phải nên đi cái specialist giống như người speech therapist để cho được cái therapy về cái chương trình đây. DrSteffani, what I added was that, you know, in addition to all the communication part, the play skills, it is also important for people to also decipher what it looks like and how it presents in a child with autism. So I know that, you know, a child with autism oftentimes, you know, don't respond to their names. And when they're given an instruction, they don't follow through. As far as play, what I was mentioning was that they don't play with objects appropriately. They might take up an object, let's say a car, instead of pushing the car, they're shaking it or looking at it closely. So because autism is my specialty at this point, that's something that I always want to make sure that I add to what you're saying, that people also want to know, is it a speech and language delay? And in addition, are those some signs about autism? So thank you so much for being here to talk about and to sharing with our community the importance of learning the early signs. Now, Dr. Nobriga, we know that you specialize in voice and in swallowing. So what that means is that you work more with adults. In you know, our show, there are many adults and elderly, you know, community members that watch the show. I want to, can you share with us what type of maybe disease or disorders that can cause a patient, an adult patient, to seek services for a speech pathologist?
Absolutely. What a great question. So there are a number of disorders, most common stroke, Parkinson's disease, cancer of the head and neck area, any neurological progressive disorder like ALS, those all commonly result in some type of swallowing difficulties. What's a little less known or a little less talked about is a term we call presbyphagia. And presbyphagia is changes to the swallow that happen as we age. So as we age, our muscles change, our reflexes, timings change, and we can start having changes to our swallowability. It's not a problem yet just because we're having those changes as we age, but understanding that sometimes just from the aging process, swallowing can actually become problematic, and seeking out a speech therapist even in those early stages can become very helpful.
Well, thank you so much for reminding us that sometimes there are some natural progressions, and then when it becomes more severe and it interferes, then we do need to seek services. Thưa quý vị, một cái công việc của Dr. Nobriga đó là làm việc với người lớn tuổi cao niên. Julie hỏi đó là bệnh nhân nào mà phải cần đi phải cần cái sự giúp đỡ của người speech pathologist, người âm ngữ trị liệu. Trước nhất Dr. Nobriga nói đó là một người bị tai biến thường có cái khó khăn về nhai nuốt thức ăn, về giao tiếp. Thêm nữa, cái người nào bị Parkinson, ALS, mà một cái là thêm nữa là chừng nào mấy người cao niên cũng có thay đổi về cái cách ăn uống. Đó là cũng là mình thấy đó là không, trước nhất là không phải là cái problem, là không phải là cái vấn đề, mà chừng nào mình thấy đó mình sặc nhiều quá lúc mà mình uống nước hay mình ăn nó dính vô cổ của mình á, thì lúc đó mình phải cần nói chuyện với bác sĩ and lấy cái giấy giới thiệu để cho người đi gặp người speech pathologist giống như Julie hay giống như Dr. Nobriga với Dr.Steffani. So thank you so much, Dr. Nobriga, for saying that. I keep on going back to your maiden name because that's what I'm also used to. Dr. Susan Steffani, we know that, you know, that infants can get therapy, and sometimes, you know, for me working in the field, when I have one student that are on, or one patient that's on my caseload with autism, we know the chances of having a sibling with autism may be increased. So I oftentimes ask parents to bring the baby in just for a screening. So oftentimes I look at eye contact, I look at their ability to connect with their mom when they're being held, where they're making those eye contact, or when the parents picking the child up. So to me, eye contact is something that we teach our families early on. I know we have to go to a commercial break, but hold that thought. So after the commercial break, we'll continue our conversation and the last segment. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV. Sau phần quảng cáo, chúng tôi sẽ tiếp tục nói chuyện với Dr. Susan Steffani and Dr. Nobriga. Cảm ơn quý vị khán giả của Little Saigon TV.